Welcome to the Midlife Leap, a lifestyle talk show for women in midlife. I'm your host, Sanita Johnson, and I am excited to share tips and interviews on topics ranging from business, career, current news, fashion, shopping, travel, and so much more. And because I'm known as the Midlife Leap Coach, from time to time, I'll share some of my signature Midlife Leap coaching tips. So come on, ladies, let's reignite and reimagine our Midlife Leap journey together. Do you suffer from insomnia and you notice that this change in your sleeping patterns occurred once you hit midlife or during midlife? Well, I have several friends just like you, both men and women, who have noticed a significant disruption in their ability to sleep soundly through the night, and it changed as they got older once they hit midlife. Now, in an article that I found written by Dr. Christiane Northrup, she says that between 20 and 40% of women have sleep disorders, and women in perimenopause tend to suffer from insomnia more than men of similar age. Now, we all know that adequate sleep is vital to our mood and our ability to be able to stay awake during the day, especially when you have to work and go to the office and everything. It's not fun. But adequate sleep is vital to our overall health. For example, lack of sleep can make you more accident prone, cause decreased concentration, which you know from falling asleep at work, and lack of motivation. But sleepless nights can also increase your stress hormones, which will disrupt hormonal balance and depress the immune system. Now, of course, a depressed immune system is not something that you want during this pandemic or any time, actually. Lack of sleep puts you at greater risk of obesity, heart disease, and diabetes. So Dr. Northrup shared about 10 tips in her article. I'm not remembering correctly off the top of my mind, but I'm just going to share 3 of them. So one of the tips is take a very good multivitamin daily. And I stress good multivitamin because there is a difference in certain qualities over another. And taking nutritional supplements can greatly improve your overall health. Now you're probably thinking, okay, Sanita, I eat a balanced diet. I eat my greens and my vegetables, my greens, my vegetables, my fruits and everything. I don't need supplements. But unfortunately, many of our foods do not provide the nutrients that we need. So a healthier you is more likely to get you better sleep. So take your supplements. Tip number 2, wind down. Create a bedtime ritual that will signify to your mind and your body that it's time for sleep, that you are winding down from your day. For example, just turn down the overhead lights in your home so it's not as bright. This will signify to your mind, that it's nighttime. You'll be going to bed soon. Wash off your makeup. Put on your pajamas and your robe and those comfy house shoes. Start your ritual at least 30 to 40 minutes before bedtime. That way, it's like you're training your mind, the more you do this, your brain, that it's time to go to bed, and maybe you'll start getting restless, right? And when you climb into the sheets, rather than doing all these things at the last minute, your body is already prepared for sleep. Tip number 3, get regular exercise to improve your sleep. Physical activity can make you feel more tired at bedtime. So you want to make sure that you do not exercise, get no vigorous exercise within 3 hours of bedtime. Overall, exercise will reduce stress levels, and that's what you want to help you get adequate sleep at night. So check out the additional tips in the article. I'll make sure I include the link below.
Do you have problems managing your schedule and you just don't have enough time to knock out all those things on your to-do list? Well, let's welcome Hanifa Browns, Esquire, MBA, a certified time management coach and educator with 15 plus years of leadership experience. She helps conscious professionals and entrepreneurs use deliberate and intentional strategies to manage their time. Hanifa helps clients reframe the way that they see themselves, acknowledge personal obstacles, and identify sustainable action to meet their goals. Using her 4% strategy, she offers clients access to a lifeline of resources, tools, and long-lasting techniques that would transition them from overwhelm to impact. Thank you for joining us today. I am excited. When I read 4% strategy, I was like, what in the heck is that? So tell us, why is it so difficult to manage time? And what is your 4% strategy? And how does it help clients resolve their lack of time problem?
Yeah, great question. And Sunita, thank you so much for inviting me and having me. Well, I'll get right to the meat of it. Look, the thing is, the reason it's so hard to manage time is because time is a resource we don't control. I mean, imagine, if you have kids or you lead a team, you have that one stubborn person that you just can't control. Well, that's time, right? And so time kind of goes in this present forward motion. And once it's gone, we don't get it back. It's not replenishable like water, like food, or like money. And that's why you can't manage it. And so I developed this 4% strategy, which is essentially a strategy around the idea of chunking or taking things in small bites. There are 24 hours in a whole day. If you just look at 1 hour of your day at a time, that's 4% of your day. Look at 1 hour of your day and really take inventory of what it is you're actually doing in that 1 hour of the day, builds your awareness and helps you strengthen your ability to make strong choices on your behalf in the time that you have. So if you want to manage time, the real thing is you need to manage your choices you make in the time that you have.
I've never, ever heard that 1 hour of the day is 4%, ever.
Yes, yes, that's what it is.
So are you planning your schedule with that 1 hour? Or are you actually doing things?
So what I do with clients is we work to understand what's happening in the 1 hour, right? I don't set boundaries around my clients' time. I don't say, this is what you need to do in an hour. This is what you need to do, because they have to make their choices. But what we do is look at what are the things they're choosing to do when they first start with me. And what I found is, and they've been surprised about, is they're doing things that they didn't realize they were doing because their life is on autopilot. And a lot of us, we're operating on autopilot, just going through these motions of life. And a lot of women, especially at the midlife point, when there are no more kids in the house, or we're no longer caregiving, or we're no longer chasing certain types of professional opportunities, and we're really trying to look for other ways to create impact, it becomes really difficult to figure out what that is. And you fall into the routine and the pattern and the autopilot. So what I do with clients is say, well, in that hour, let's look at each hour as you go. What are you doing in this hour? And what are you doing in this hour? And they're actually creating inventory. And they're surprised to find out a lot of them are just scrolling mindlessly, or just sitting in front of the TV, or staring into space, or doing things they didn't realize. And they're like, oh my gosh, I could have been doing X, Y, or Z, but I was wasting so much time. And so that's how we apply the 4%. It's really to assess what you're currently doing so we can build that awareness for you to make choices to do the things you actually want to do with your time.
So with each individual client, you assist them with setting up a schedule that works for them, or?
Yeah. So with each individual client, I'll give them like basically an assignment or an exercise. And I'll say, hey, let's take 1 week out of your life. And for 1 week, and I only do weekdays, right? Because I'm a realist also. I believe you should have time for yourself to do nothing if that is your choice. So we only look at weekdays because those tend to be the days of productivity, high productivity in our society. And we look, and they actually jot down in a log, hour upon hour, what it is that they're doing. And now there's a way that we do it, because they're busy too. I don't say you have to put everything minute by minute. But we look at, there's a process to kind of figure out what their big picture to-dos are. And then we use that and say, okay, in this hour, what are you doing? So in your instance, Anita, we might say in the hour from 5:30 to 6:30. 5:30 to 6, you recorded for your television show. Great. Okay, 6 to 6:30, you debriefed and looked at what you recorded. So that's what you would put down. But we would do that hour upon hour while they're awake, and then create an assessment. And I use tools so they can create different learning from that. We do actual quantitative assessment to calculate. We do a visual assessment to get a sense of what that time looks like. So that way they have a resource to understand. So these are the things I'm doing, and these are the spots where I can make different choices throughout my day. So it's a whole curriculum and process when I'm working with the client.
So with midlife women, because you mentioned, empty nester, do you find that it's a bigger problem? Because I don't have that issue because I didn't have kids, but it's like a lot of midlife women don't know what to do with themselves now that the kids are gone, and they have all these goals, but they're not getting to it because it's just empty space, and maybe they're not doing anything. What's the issue there?
Yeah, I think the big issue for midlife women is, women in general, we are nurturers and givers, whether we have kids or not. We always want to give of ourselves and take care of everyone else's to-do lists instead of our own. And so when we get to a point where we're at midlife, when those needs are no longer drawing upon us or needing us, we feel like we no longer have impact. Like, what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to be important? What am I supposed to do with my life? Right? And the kids don't need me, or I don't need to provide any care for this person or do these things anymore. And so what midlife women need to kind of get to the point of is figuring out how to redefine what impact looks like for them, right? In 1 minute, you're a caregiver. The next minute, what else could that be? What are the things that have spoken to you, your purpose, your passion, the things on your heart? How can you redefine impact for you? Not necessarily impact based on what everyone else is doing. Maybe you've had a passion to just grow a garden. I know my mom, she has the best garden, and she just tills that land and creates peppers and all kinds of things. And in my head, I'm like, I want to be able to do that one day, right? So at some point in my life, it's going to be important. My impact is going to be in trying to figure out how to create a garden like my mother does, right? So the impact is really what matters to you. And we have to redefine that for ourselves, and then put the time into thinking about redefining it, and then the time into actually taking the steps to do it. Trusting the process, knowing that when you start, it won't look exactly right or feel right, but at least make the effort to take the time to make that start.
Yeah, I always say start where you are with what you have. I don't know who came up with that quote or whatever, but people tend to put off, like, I don't have time, or I don't have this, I don't have money. Just start doing something.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I like that you mentioned your mom's garden, because that is something so simple and so fulfilling that a lot of people don't think of. I think at this age, we tend to think of it has to be huge. And then that stops many people, because I know I don't have the same energy at going on 55 that I had in my 30s. Real.
I'm with you.
So how do you help women, help them navigate that they don't have as much energy as they used to?
Well, a lot of our discussions are not necessarily on places of lack, right? Because some things are a given. If you're at a certain stage in life, age in life, whatever it is, there are just some things we have an understanding about. And so, like, for example, I had a particular client that's midlife, and she expressed her concerns to me around her time goals and the challenges with figuring out how to take a big life leap. Right. And in our discussions, I could hear some of the limitations she would create for herself based on kind of some of those known factors, or maybe I'm too old, or maybe I can't. And I don't like to deal with limitations, and that's just my own thing. So I allow it to be said and spoken. And I say, great. Okay, we hear that. Now, what is it that you want to do? And then what do the steps look like towards what you want to do? Now let's look at the time to create what you want to do. And we think of it in the affirmative, because if you think of it in the lack, the negative, you can perpetuate the thoughts, the energies, and the cycle of that. And I really want to avoid that as much as possible. And I do that in my own life. I'm an eternal optimist. So anytime there's a negative, I'm like, okay, how can I turn this into the affirmative? So that's kind of what we do.
Yeah, I think we tend to go negative and live in the negative because a lot of people around us in the surroundings are that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'm trying to think. Okay. I take care of my dad. I have a dog. I have a relationship. I have this business, but I have a part-time job.
Wow. Yeah.
And I actually already write someone like myself. I already write everything down that I'm going to do that day. I don't get to everything because I think I tend to overload my day schedule, but I don't beat myself up. I just move it to the next day or move it to the next week. What would you say to a client who's like, well, Hanifa, I already kind of planned my day?
Well, I would say, just based on your example with your list and how you move things from one day to the next, my first piece of advice, and I tell all my clients this at a certain point in our sessions, the thing with choice is you have to decide what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. And as simplistic and rudimentary as that sounds, that's a pretty definitive stance to take in your life. Like literally and consciously thinking, I'm going to do this. I am not going to do that. Now, the other piece is you have to also understand, because some of us, when you hear you're not going to do that, your mind thinks, I'm never going to do that. Not and never are two very different things. Just you have a list of 10 things. You look at that list today, and this list is for tomorrow, and you say, okay, I'm not going to do items 6, 7, and 9. It doesn't mean you're not going to do them ever. It just means 6, 7, and 9, you're going to just hold it off and deal with it at the time when you have decided to do it. Right. And that's usually how it works. I'm a list maker myself, and I give myself a rule based on some of the habits I think of, what do they call highly productive people. I don't put more than 7 things on my list. If I have to put more than 7, then I got to pick and prioritize and decide what I'm going to do in that particular day. I don't always do all of it, but just my hard, fast rule is I just put 7 because that's what makes sense. And if I finish the 7, I don't add to it because I need to step back, right? Because if you add to it, you can get caught up in what's called the productivity trap, constantly doing and doing and doing till you're overwhelmed, you have burnout, and you're completely exhausted. So if you've got that list, my thing is like, just decide what you're going to do and what you're not going to do and just go from there.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting you mentioned that because I put a star by the must-dos and then whatever else, because I'm not going to wear myself out. It'll get done. So how would a potential client reach you?
Yeah, so I have a website. You can go to www.hanifabarnes.com, and there you will find all the information about my free coaching call. I'm offering that for a limited time only, and it's a 30-minute free coaching call. And then you'll also see my other services with coaching. I also do workshops and keynote speaking opportunities as well. And you'll find all my social media access there as well. Oh,
great. Ladies, 30 minutes free, a free coaching call. You better jump on that.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is a great interview. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.